Alright guys, so for those of you who don't know me, welcome. Is this recording? Yes, it is recording. Thank goodness, I don't want to pull a Roland. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Manolanda. I'm the president of AV Club, and this is AV Club Take 16, and the meeting is about to begin. So, for those who don't know, or for those who are new, which I don't think any of you are new. Anyways, except Cruz, but every week we basically do AV Bootcamp. So we basically, me and a few others, we teach future practicum students and future students in general, future creators, about certain things that has to do with the media and certain things that we do in the club. So today I will be presenting how to make a blog post. So we have this website, self-promotion, eaglepublicradio.weebly.com, and that's I'm going to teach you how we post our content and things like that. So let us begin. Alright, so before we begin, I want to talk more about our website, a little bit of self-promotion, yo. So our website is eaglepublicradio.weebly.com. So we basically use this for displaying our own content. It is a blog-style website where domain is from Weebly. If any of you are interested in general, not just people who are interested in helping with the website, if any of you are interested in general in making your own website, maybe you want to do a digital portfolio, so you want to show your work, maybe you want to make a blog about cats, Weebly is the best way to go, because not only is it free, but it is an accessible source for editing, so you get a lot of diversity, so a lot of variety, so you can post, like, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna write something and that's the post. Like, you can do so many things with it. It's awesome. So we use this website for things on our, like, besides like posting content, we do things that I think is very important for me to mention, especially for future AV kids, that we use this for progress sheets and equipment forms. So these are basically they're Google Forms that Mr. Sanchez has created, and these you have to basically, progress sheet you have to do every day, and it's basically kind of giving him an update of what project you are doing and kind of like what phase you are. So whether you are still working on it, you're still brainstorming it, or you already finished it. That way, Mr. Sanchez can have an idea of what exactly you're doing and like how far you're getting into, like how far are you from finishing it. So check out equipment form. Let's say you need to use a studio, you need to use a camera for a video for a project, you have to check out this equipment form. So one thing I really like about this class is that if you check out a camera, let's say you have to give something away in order for you to take it back. That way you can't trust anybody, you know what I mean? So okay, another thing is we use for announcements. Like, this one is really important, and I'm so glad that we have this. So basically, let's say you are in second period and the announcements come in and people are being really loud, but you really want to hear the announcements because you're worried that there might be an announcement about our club, or there might be an announcement about college for those seniors, or like anything like that. Well, we have the announcements posted. I think it's updated. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too sure, honestly, but it's usually updated every week. And we also have lunch menus and breakfast menus in case you want to know what they're getting for lunch. We also have our class notes. I find this extremely important in case I'm absent, and there's also a lot of other sources that I didn't even know existed until I actually went to the website. So you can see my mouse. Okay, so basically this is kind of like a compass page that Mr. Sanchez has gracefully given to us to basically be able to look over notes and to figure things out in case we have a test or such things like that. We also have other sources. So we have the website for the Frontera Film Festival, and we have school sources. So if you go to eaglepassisd.net, you can and go to links. They have the library catalogs and things for research papers. We also have that provided. So let's talk about our website. So to make a blog post, step 1, you have to think about the following. What type of blog post are you going to make? So obviously it all depends on what exact content you are going to post. So whether or not it's a video or it's just like an actual blog, like you're writing something, typically what we do is whenever we have new content, we create that as a blog post and categorize it in our website depending on what type of film it is. So what type it is, sorry. So either it's a film, for example, like films, we have certain segments called like hidden heroes. We have our magazine, so we usually categorize them. That way it's more accessible not only for us to like update and to check things out, but it's also accessible for our viewers and for our audience to be able to figure things out and be able to like to explore all of our content. What's interesting about having a website is that there's no limit to what you can post. So one thing that I hope is kind of like established more next year is that I know that when it comes to the website, it's more of just like, oh, if we have a video, we post it and that's it. I hope we expand on that, kind of like how we did prior. So we create like actual blog posts, for example, like EP syndication. So what EP syndication is basically kind of like going back. So like, let's say perfect example. So y'all probably know about the day that it snowed. So a year ago, a few of the practicum kids made a video about the snow day, and they posted it online. And around the year anniversary, which was this year, I decided to post a EP syndication, so it's kind of like a throwback. So not only are we like going back to the anniversary and like showing people like, hey, it was a year ago it snowed, but also we are kind of like showing great content that was made prior. So another example of EP syndication, Alyssa Perales, really great student. She was a former practicum student. She is currently in UT. She is studying radio, television, film. She made this topology video. It's kind of like, it was for a contest, and she is she's really good at animation. It was a lot of stop motion. I highly recommend it. So that's an example of like EP syndication and another blog post that you can do besides just regularly posting content. Another example is other projects you want to create on the website. I noticed that there was this thing that I think advanced students last year, who is our practicum student now, Lorena, she made this thing called budding photography. So basically what they did, I really like that. So basically her and I believe it was Bianca Valencia, who is a former AV students. So basically they got a bunch of pictures and they gathered them around and they told a story and did a lot of captions. So as you can see, there's a text, there's a picture. Here's another example of it. So they're basically telling the story behind that picture and how they got inspiration for it. So I thought that's pretty cool. Like I say, even though it's as simple as like writing something and posting it, like I say be creative. As I said, the possibilities are endless. So number 2, structure. This is a really cool part. So typically for a blog post, there is a certain structure that every blog usually follows. The title, the body, the content, and the credits. So we're going to be going over those. For the title, I would really encourage to make it as eye-catching as possible. Think of it as a headline in a magazine or a website. Whenever I write a blog post, I think like, would this title catch my attention, or would I actually want to, like, as a general student, would I actually want to see this? Make sure that it relates to the content you're publishing, and make sure it's not too long, not too short. I say depending on what the title of the project actually is, I would say around like no more than like 8 words, 7 or 8 words, maybe a little bit less. I guess it all depends. Okay. So the body is the most important, as it is an explanation of your content. So the majority of the time we use log lines. I am putting this in all caps because if you are interested in making a blog, whether you're helping with the website or you're doing it on your own, you need to use log lines. So for those that were AV students with Mr. Sanchez for advanced or are practicum students now, you probably know what log lines are. In case you don't, it's 3 to 5 sentences. Think of it as an elevator pitch. So imagine this: you go in an elevator, I don't know where you're going. It's a building and there's an elevator. You go and there's another person, and the music, and you talk like, oh. So I have this idea, and like I have this idea to present to you. They're like, okay, the only time you're gonna have is like within an elevator. So basically what I'm kind of trying to say is like, try to explain something as if you're going to an elevator. You have a minimal time, but you're trying to execute it like in the best way possible. So think of it that way. And I would also recommend answering the 5 questions. So who, what, when, where, and why. So going back to this picture, this is an example of answering those 5 questions. So in the 4th episode of Season 2 of Hidden Heroes, we surprise Administrator Mr. Huerta. Despite his reputation of being strict and cautious with school regulations, a softer side is shown as we take the time to recognize his hard work. Enjoy, and don't forget to share. So who? Mr. Huerta. Where? An administrator, so in school. When? During the Season 2 of Hidden Heroes. Why? Am I missing one? No, I'm not missing one. I think I did. And then why? Establish that to recognize his hard work. So as long as you're answering those 5 questions and you try to not make a paragraph, because typically when you're looking at a post on Facebook, you're not going to read a huge paragraph unless like you know that person or it's like something that really interests you. You're going to look at something small. So that follows up in pretty much every social media, which is what we will be talking about next week, by the way. But this is kind of going to show like it applies to everything else. So another example is the AV photo walk downtown. So when November 17th, who, Mr. Sanchez and students from AV, what, gathered together outside the public library to prepare to have a photo walk. When, on November 17th, I said that. And why, in a whole new perspective, we all took to take pictures of anything we found mesmerizing. So that's basically it. As long as you answer those questions and do it in a concise manner, you'll be good to go, to be honest. So continuing on, content. The majority of the time we use the following tools provided by Weebly to display our content. We usually do a photo or a really eye-catching thumbnail. We usually do a YouTube video, or we do an embedded code. So embedded code is like it's self-explanatory. It's basically like literal code digitally, and we usually use that whenever we do the magazine, which is something we will explain in a few weeks. So here's the example. When you go to Weebly and you edit, these are all the well, not all, but like the majority of all the logos that are provided. So here's the title. You can choose the title, the text. You can choose an image. You can make a gallery, kind of similar to what I did with the photo walk. You can wear the embedded code. That's something important when you do the magazine or other things that like have to do with like digital software. You have a YouTube channel, so you basically put the link and things like that. And so yeah, like I said, there's a lot of variety. Credits below the content. Please make sure you always give credit. So credit yourself if you are writing the post. Credit yourself as blog post editor, and be sure to credit pretty much everyone in the credits, so like director, editor, writer, etc. So if you have anything you want to share, you could turn it into a hyperlink and post it on the bottom of every single blog post. So just copy and paste. So that can be like social medias that you have, or like websites, like certain categories you have within that website. So an example is that right here in the bottom of every post, we have our specific programs. So in the website, we have different categories. So EP Films, Journalism, Radio, Podcast, etc. And then we have all of our socials. Hold on, something's wrong with the mouse. Okay. And then step 3. So to make corrections and get opinions. So obviously you're writing really fast, and this happens to me a lot. I would really, also another thing, like besides log lines, like proofread. Please make sure, and this doesn't just go, this is a tip not just for this lesson, but in general, whenever you're writing, please make sure you proofread, because short story, when I was writing a research paper for this year, I did it in a hurry. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do whatever. And then when I got it back, I didn't proofread, which I usually do. I usually read it like 2 to 3 times at least, and like look over it and make sure everything's okay. Because you don't know how many mistakes you make when you're in a hurry, and that's like in general. So I really recommend that you proofread. Look for run-off sentences, so sentences that have a lot of fragments, or any other grammatical errors when giving credits. Make sure you are spelling the people's names correctly. That has also happened to me a lot. Sometimes I forget, like Cassandra with one S, and like, you know how those people have really weird names. So I would recommend getting an opinion, seeing what they think, and having someone else give you advice or giving like tips about it is great. So you can ask a teacher. In this case, it would be Mr. Sanchez over there. You can ask a friend that you trust, or a writer itself. So when I do it, I usually ask for advice from Mr. Sanchez or Roland, and then Roland, who's our vice president, he's also in charge of the website. He usually asks me. So the final step, to publish. So when you finish creating a post, there is a huge button titled Post. Once you do that, there is a button titled Publish, which allows you to update the website. I would recommend doing that every single time you post, because that way there's a difference between like actually posting that post and then like updating the website as a whole. So I would really recommend always publishing. After that, you're basically done. And congratulations, you made your own blog post. Here is the button when it comes to post. So it's like there's like a little square, like a square below it, and that's basically where you can put all the text and all that stuff. And then on top, it's where you can post. And then after that, there's also this publish one. The blue button you see over there, that's what I would recommend pressing every single time. So in conclusion, be creative when writing the log lines, which I'm going to emphasize, please do log lines. Focus on the elevator pitch, focus on answering the 5 W's, give credit when it's due, proofread, and ask for someone for opinion. So does anyone have any questions about anything? Good?